So I just wanted to do this really quick video about an article that I found from December 6th of 1993, and it's an interview with Osama bin Laden. And it's so strange how the press is painting him differently than it did just 8 years later. And a lot of things are different between 2018 and 2001. Actually, it's weird because I was in New York 2 days, and I hadn't been there in a really long time, but I was in New York 2 days before the World Trade Center bombing in 2001, and I couldn't help but remark how peaceful it was and how clean it was. I know clean, but at what cost, right? Because where did they put all the homeless people? I mean, it was a far cry difference between in the 1980s when you'd walk down the street and you'd see people lying on the sidewalk with heroin needles hanging out their arms, which actually was a thing that happened. But regardless, that's another speculation for another time. But I found this article. Actually, it was posted on Facebook by, I think it was like a truther group. Yeah, it was a group called Exposing the Truth. And the spin on this man is fascinating, particularly when you registered that 1993 was the year of the first World Trade Center bombing by Ramzi Youssef and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who would go on to join Al-Qaeda after the fact. Anyway, you can't really read that, but you can read this here. It says, anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace. The Saudi businessman who recruited Mujahideen now uses them for large-scale building projects in the Sudan. So it says a few key and interesting things here. Osama bin Laden, he sat in his robe guarded by the loyal Arab Mujahideen who fought alongside him in Afghanistan. Bearded, taciturn figures, unarmed but never more than a few yards from the man who recruited them, trained them, and then dispatched them to destroy the Soviet army. They watched unsmiling as the Sudanese villagers of Almatag lined up to thank the Saudi businessman who was about to complete the highway linking their homes to Khartoum for the first time in history. With high cheekbones, narrow eyes, and a long brown robe, Mr. bin Laden looks every inch the mountain warrior of Mujahideen legend. Shardoured children danced in front of him. Preachers acknowledged his wisdom. We have been waiting for this road through all the revolutions in Sudan. A sheikh said, we waited until we had given up on everybody, and then Osama bin Laden came along. Outside Sudan, Mr. bin Laden is not regarded with quite such high esteem. The Egyptian press claims he brought hundreds of former Arab fighters back to Sudan from Afghanistan, while the Western Embassy circuit in Khartoum has suggested that some of the Afghans, whom the Saudi entrepreneur flew to Sudan, are now busy training for further jihad wars in Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt. Mr. bin Laden is well aware of this, quote-unquote, the rubbish of the media and the embassies, he calls it. I am a construction engineer and an agriculturalist. If I had training camps here in the Sudan, I couldn't possibly do this job. So he's basically saying he couldn't possibly do the job. So basically he goes on to talk about his job. And this job is certainly an ambitious one, a brand new highway stretching all the way from Khartoum to Port Sudan, a distance of 1,200 kilometers. On the old road, now shortened by 800 kilometers, metric again, by the new bin Laden route that will turn the coastal run from the capital into a mere day's journey, into a country that is despised by Saudi Arabia for its support of Saddam Hussein in the Gulf War almost as much as it is condemned by the United States. Mr. bin Laden has brought the very construction equipment that he used only 5 years ago to build the guerrilla trails of Afghanistan. And now this is really the crux of the article. He is a shy man maintaining a home in Khartoum and only a small apartment in his home city of Jeddah. He is married with 4 wives but wary of the press. His interview with The Independent was the first he's ever given to a Western journalist, and he initially refused to talk about Afghanistan, sitting silently in a chair at the back of a makeshift tent, brushing his teeth in the Arab fashion with a stick of mashak wood. But talk he eventually did about a war which he helped to win for the Afghan Mujahideen. What I lived in 2 years there, I could not have lived in 100 years elsewhere, he said. So anyway, that last part was the most arresting, but this article is fascinating, particularly since it came out in December of 1993. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. I mean, just about spin, about the way the press uses various people. Of course, I don't think this article ever appeared in any American papers, and they say, of course, if you watch or listen to news overseas, which I'm trying to get more into doing, you get a different sort of take on things and a different skew. So what I'll do is I'll leave the links to this, well, I'll leave the links to this article in the description section. You can't really read it that easily in this picture, but there are plenty of pictures online of this exact article if you go online. Meantime, as far as 9/11 being a day of outreach and doing good for your fellow man, I hope we all get a chance to do that today. I know I was really busy this weekend with doing stuff, and I went to an old folks home for the first time and did a little volunteer work. So that was pretty cool this weekend, and hopefully today I can do some more things and just help people out, and maybe we can make as many lemonades out of lemons on a day of peace from now on, because 11 in numerology adds up to 2, and 2 equals love. All right, peace out. Thanks, guys.